I'm Steve March-Tormé. I am a singer-songwriter, entertainer. I'm a radio host. I'm a father of 2 teenage daughters, and that's kind of an overview of what I do. My Heid music story, it goes back a ways. I've bought musical instruments here. I bought a beautiful Epiphone guitar here, a John Lennon-inspired Epiphone. I think I also bought an acoustic guitar here, but I go back with Todd and Dee Dee because for about 6 years in a row, we did a program called Doctors in Recital. And it's literally that. It's physicians in this area who were musicians at one time. We gave them a platform, a concert, where they could come out and go, oh, this is Dr. Miller, and he does, ophthalmology, and so does brain surgery, but also plays the oboe. So it was a fundraiser, and we did that for Heid Music, and I was the host for, I think, 7 years in a row. And COVID kind of put the kibosh on that for a year, so perhaps we'll come back and do it again next year. And I've also done some of the stuff we do out in the street on College Avenue when they have musicians out here playing. So I've done a number of things with them, and we've just remained friends also through the years. And a lot of the people that work here, I work with musically. Chris Feltz, who's a great sax player who works here, he's in our band Steam. Tyler Jones is in that band Steam. Kenny Skitch, who used to work here, just retired recently. Jonathan Leahy. So it's what you would think it is. It's mostly a musical connection. Well, it's the way I've made my living for a long time. And in my case, I really, truly, and I say this and people go, well, you're just being self-effacing. And no, I really can't do anything else. I have no really polished skills in anything other than performing. And that's what I do best, and that's what I've been doing for a long time. The radio thing, there's a station here called 91.1 The Avenue. And it's very popular. A lot of people listen to it all the time. We have a very different playlist than any other station because we're a nonprofit radio station. So we are not beholden to any company. They can't tell us what to play. And we play lots of local artists, which is great because it's really hard to get airtime for anybody. I had finished working on my latest album, and I called up the station. My wife had said, have you heard 91.1 The Avenue? And I said, I think Heid Music also does some advertising on there. I said, I don't know. I might have listened to it. I wasn't paying attention. She says, you should take a listen. They're very different. I called up the station. I said, hi, my name is Steve March-Tormé. I'm Mel Tormé's son, and I live here now, and I did this album. Can I send you some cuts? And they said, yes. And they called me back about 3 days later and said, yeah, there are 3 or 4 things we would play here. I said, if you'd picked one, I'd be happy. They called back 3 days later and said, can you do a station ID for us? I said, yeah, I think I can handle that. Hi, this is Steve March-Tormé. You're listening to, And then the general manager called up about a week later and said, you got a good voice for radio. Do you think you could, host a radio show? I said, well, I hosted a couple of television shows in LA. I think I could probably do radio here. So they gave me 3 to 7 in the afternoon. That became 3 to 7 plus 6 to 9 in the morning, plus Saturday. So I'm on more than I want to hear me. I wanted, like many kids, to be a professional baseball player. That was my first desire. And I grew up in New York, so I was a Yankee fan, and I wanted to play baseball, hopefully for New York Yankees. And as I got to be 12, 13, 14, and I was listening to pop music in our basement in New York after the Yankee games, I was singing along. And somewhere around 16 years old, I realized, you know what? I think you got a better shot of doing music. So I think I knew at about 14, I think I want to be a pop music singer. And I ended up becoming a pop jazz singer. I come from a musical family. My father is a legendary jazz singer, Mel Tormé, for those of you out there who are listening to this or watching this. But my influences were not jazz. The first influence was the Beatles, like a lot of people. Extremely influenced by them because of their harmonies and the way they put their songs together. And I grew up on the music of Joni Mitchell and James Taylor and the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan and Todd Rundgren and Hall & Oates, mostly really melodic, harmony-based pop music. I listen to and I also appreciate musical theater, and I don't know how much of that comes into the actual music I do, but I'm sure it has to do with my performing. It's hard for me to go do a show and just stand there and just sing and not tell some stories, share with the audience. I really am there for the audience. I'm not nearly as much there for me. I really want people to come away from it saying, you know what, I didn't know what to expect. I had not gone to one of his concerts yet, but he literally emotionally affected me. And I hear this a lot from women that come to say, I'm not going to say this in front of him, but I was sitting with my husband, and my husband had tears in his eyes in 2 of the songs you sang, and he would never admit that. That means I'm doing something right. That means I'm I'm not being selfish. I'm actually being selfless and hopefully giving to an audience. Yeah, probably two. One is a song that my dad used to sing that a lot of singers of his ilk sang called The Folks Who Live on the Hill. It's a beautiful song written by Lerner and Lowe, and one that I wrote called A Different Time. Because when I moved out from West Los Angeles to Berlin, Wisconsin, which is drastically different, one day I was in a park there. It's called Nathan Strong Park. He was the guy that I guess founded the city. I was in the park there one day with my two daughters, and they were about 2 and 4 years old. It was a summer day, nobody in the park but us, very, very warm, and you could hear the wind literally rustling through these maple trees. You could hear the leaves, and I'm watching my two kids playing on the swings, and they're laughing and having a good time, and I just started reflecting, how did I end up here? How did somebody who was born in Manhattan and then moved to Beverly Hills in Los Angeles, and again with lots of very well-known people, and now I live in a town of 3,500 in Wisconsin, and it was fine. It just, the journey was, my kids are safe, they're laughing in a park, it's just interesting. It's just, I come from such a completely different world, and that was the impetus to writing the last completely original album, and that song, A Different Time. It was really about, I lived in a different time on a cul-de-sac in a little town of friends and families. I played on a baseball field filled with juniper and bottle caps and lifelong memories. It was just kind of going back, and now I'm here, and it's okay. Well, this is not a shameless plug, but for people that are musicians who want a resource for instruments, for just people to mingle with, to talk with, to discuss music, but especially for lessons, take advantage of Heid Music, because not every town has this. You've got very, very good teachers here. And in fact, my daughters both took piano lessons here. I've been very, very lucky to have this relationship with Todd and Dee Dee, and they've been there whenever I've needed something from them and vice versa. And I encourage people to come in here, and if you play any of these instruments, come check them out. Musically, I'm just glad to still be here and doing concerts here. We've got a beautiful performance arts center right down the street. Please come out, support Heid Music and support live music.